know.
We're seeing who's paying attention. So far, you're in.
Yeah, well.
We,
Option.
Optional.
we're,
All right, I get to listen to Ms. Lacheko.
Yeah. We tried the book, that might have made it worse, so take it off there if it
You want me to
does.
text it? Here the other.
Hold it in. Sorry.
I'm trying to be loud. We carry your whole life in that bag.
Almost. He's something. I like him.
Yeah, we'll keep you around.
Is she typing it out?
The rest of the kids. Yeah, you lost some kids.
I hope it is. We just all take it on. Okay.
I got a couple. And this is pretty simple. Tell me what I'm getting. Yes.
Everybody ready? Yes. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, I did.
Sorry, we're a little bit behind. We had an executive session to talk about some personnel matters and some property issues. One which is on the agenda for this evening. So I'd first like to recognize any resident or taxpayer of this area school district wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter of concern or interest properly raised in a public session. Please give your name and address and the subject of the content you will be addressing, and it's requested to please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Moreover, please note that comments relative to private, student, or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside this meeting.
Tammy Sheridan, 101 Cotton Street. I'm here as a taxpayer, not necessarily as a parent tonight, and regarding the Litchfield committee. So I understand that you're gonna vote in order, so just my own thoughts as a taxpayer. Number one, we should not retain this. As we talked about the last board meeting, as you guys mentioned, this has been on the agenda. It's been continued to be talked about. It's time to move on. To possibly gift it to Litchfield, again, this is something that could have been addressed, should have been talked about previously. In my opinion, as a taxpayer, I think our best option is to advertise it and to put it back on the tax rolls. And I think it's important that when you look at it, if you get the bids, that's not just whatever's gonna be the most benefit to the taxpayer, and to get it back on the tax rolls and help us as taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gabardini. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Scott Ross. My address is 20 Dell Lane, Rome, PA. I'm neither a taxpayer nor a resident. My name is Scott Ross. I'm the pastor.
Scott, it's gotta be taxpayer or resident, sorry.
Okay, I thought I'd have an opportunity to speak.
Afterwards?
It's
by all
about the
means.
Litchfield School, but I can wait till afterwards if you would like me to wait.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yep, not a problem.
Yep.
Can I read what you wrote?
It's a little unorthodox,
Can we discuss it during the Litchfield?
but when that time comes, sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Can I read what you wrote out when it comes?
I have something if I'm allowed to share it, or you can read it, either way.
Discuss when it's there, I guess.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would wait till last.
Mr. Barry?
Joe Barry, 60 Vehicle Brad. I came to actually listen to the Litchfield proposal, but I also want to ask some questions about the swimming pool. And is the swimming pool being used currently by any student athletes or students? Just, not including WAC.
I can answer, okay. So in addition to WAC, the pool is being used in the evenings during the senior night, or the kid night out events that the senior class is running at this point, if they have lifeguards available,
Okay.
yes.
And do you know about how many times a year that is?
I believe, Joe, the first one they did was in January, they have it scheduled for February, and I'm projecting more, but I don't have those dates. I know there's one next Monday, and I know there was one in January.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Timothy Shaw, 315 South Elm Avenue. Good evening and thank you. About the pool, we don't have gym class, swimming for gym class?
Mr. Henry, do you want to take that?
Yeah, right now, only one of our gym teachers is certified, and we need 2 certified on the deck.
So how long has that been?
It's since probably pre-COVID,
Couple years?
yeah. That's when they're,
And if I can also share, there's been an extreme amount of effort put into trying to find lifeguards, and we put that out publicly. People have emailed, called friends. If anyone is aware of lifeguards that are certified during the day or in the evening, that we can hire, we'd be happy to do that.
So it's not a requirement of a gym teacher to be?
No, not in the state of Pennsylvania. One of our 3 high school physical education teachers are certified as lifeguards.
When I was in school, everybody had to be, okay, that's all right, that's 100 years ago.
Just on top of that too as well, lifeguards were not one of the areas that were granted exceptions during COVID. So if your training lapsed, you had to start all over from the beginning. So people that did have their lifeguard were not able to have an extension upon it. They have to go through the whole process again.
But that's non-teacher.
That's for anybody.
So even a teacher had to do that.
Anybody that was a certified
I believe so.
lifeguard, everybody's certification lapsed.
Perfect, thank you, that was good.
we did just,
Can non-SARE students use SARE facilities with SARE athletic teams?
generally would be no.
No, okay. It's continuing, it has continued, and hopefully we can address it at some point in time.
Okay.
So, Mr. Shaw, may I ask that after the meeting, you give Mr. Hendricks some
He already
details?
knows.
Okay,
I thought it was
I
taken
know
care
he's
of.
working on it, but still.
I thought it was taken care of.
okay.
Thank you. The other day, we had a snow day where the kids were able to do instruction on school, or on the computer. The teachers were paid, what about the rest of the staff? Crossing guards, cafeteria, janitors, custodians, maybe the nurses, bus drivers, did anybody think about them? Do they get paid?
So in accordance with the CBA that we have in place with our support staff members, there is no loss of pay due to a 2-hour, I'm gonna try to remember it correctly, whether it's a 2-hour delay, an early dismissal day, if it's a school day, there's no loss of time if they're in the support staff CBA,
So they're paid whether they work or not?
if they're within the CBA.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Your 3 minutes are up there, Mr. Shaw.
Not with people answering.
Oh,
Trust me, I
Al-
got my watch
almost.
going. I called the superintendent's office last week numerous times. I got an answering machine every time. I understand they're busy, but there's not one of the office staff that can answer that phone if the superintendent's secretary is busy.
Typically, it jumps from one to the other. There are 3 ladies that are in that office. And so if it doesn't get picked up at one, it gets picked up at another. So I don't know, did you leave a voicemail for a callback?
I kept trying, but
It didn't go to voicemail either?
no.
Okay, that means the phone system would be down during that time, so.
And how do I contact somebody to say, hey, your phone's not working or nobody's answering the phone? Okay, beautiful. The Litchfield School, we had the previous meeting, we set the deadline, not we, Mr. Petrini set the deadline was January 18th. That
no, the
night
deadline
of
was the
meeting.
end of January. That would have been the January 31st.
If we go back to the minute meetings, the meeting minutes, you said January 18th.
No, Mr. Shaw asked me what day it was. I said it was the 18th, but the meeting was, and if it was misconstrued, it was never meant to be the 18th. January 31st was the last day they had, because that was the end of the month.
Okay, but you said January 18th, so I'm just clarifying to be sure.
Appreciate the clarification.
Second thing is, you had a meeting the other night, according to the Sarah School District website and Facebook, it was a committee meeting. I never heard any of you that night say, you can go ahead and have a meeting. No, nothing was advertised that I saw.
It's advertised on Facebook,
That's
and
correct.
it just has to be advertised within Facebook or
Any of those.
any of those avenues for a meeting, for a committee meeting, within
Did that have to
24
be
hours.
Legal notice in the paper?
No.
Just an
When
advertisement.
did that change? Because if you don't have
It's
Facebook.
always been that way. For a regular committee meeting, for a board meeting is different, but for a committee meeting, just has to be advertised in those doesn't have to be a legal notice in the paper.
Okay, I thought it was legal, okay, good. And then one other concern, it's not my child directly, but at Snyder, there was an issue a few months ago about a 5-year-old being unattended in a restroom. How is that any different than a coach touching a student, being alone in a locker room, gymnasium, or anything else? They were worried about liability and being sued and all this other stuff. Anybody know anything about it?
I personally do not know.
Holy cow, okay. All right, no. And one other thing, and then I'm done, Pete, I promise. What happens if a administrator, a coach, a teacher, staff, auxiliary staff bullies a student? What would happen?
Sure. So when we get the information, we go through an investigation, and then we make a determination on the investigation, and then go through what could be considered progressive discipline from there.
How long should that take? And how would anybody ever know if you ever did anything about it?
So the timeline is dependent on how many students need interviewed, when they're available, who the interviewee is, all of that. So it depends on the size, if it's one student, if it's multitude of students. So it will vary, depend on each individual case. And then from the end of the investigation, the determination from that, and if it's found to be valid, then you move through the steps of discipline.
Okay, so 3 months, 4 months, is that reasonable time?
I'm not- there is no determination on the time, it's dependent on when the individuals are available for the interview process.
Okay, so my question would be, if I was bullied September 1st, February 7th, should there be something probably done about it somewhere, some way, somehow?
Well, absolutely.
Okay, well, again, he said we can't talk about that, but come on, folks, some of you I know are new, it's not your fault, but this should have been addressed a long time ago. It's awful, I've been telling you for months about bullying. It's happening in your district, in your buildings. Okay, and I know you're all gonna say, well, we're not aware, I understand that, but listen, if I bring up the exact things,
Yep.
I can't do that here. But I can't tell all of you about it if I meet with you, so then I have to meet with each one of you individually. So please, as a board, as an administration, or whatever, please get to the bottom of this, because I'm telling you, something bad's gonna happen like sooner than later. And you know, I'm frustrated, I really, Doctor, I'm frustrated. And I'm not trying to get mad, but I'm frustrated, because it's like it happened 8 years ago, 6 years ago, 2 years ago, and again now, and nothing's being done. Nothing. And you can tell me it is, I'm telling you there's nothing being done. Have a great night, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Anyone else?
Amy Chilson, 2034 Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to agree with Tim on the bullying issue. I dealt with a bully with my own child in the school district for almost 2 years. And it was not until we contacted the police department before something got done. And even then, I don't feel that something was really done by the school district. We had to contact the parents. We had to deal with things. We had to contact the police. I spoke with administration at least a dozen times. And we kept being told, we need to investigate, we need to investigate, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you. And it wasn't until we kept calling back before people would call us. Tim is right, something needs to be done in this school district about bullying, because the bullies just keep doing it. And they even brag about it, and nobody does anything about it. My daughter's situation was turned in by not only myself and other kids, but by staff members who witnessed it. And still, nothing was done.
Thank you, Ms. Chilson. Anyone else?
If I may ask, do we have a bullying committee in this district?
Committee? No.
We don't. Who handles bullying?
So it depends on where it gets reported to. If it's reported to the elementary building, Mrs. Morel oversees that process at the high school, and she probably works in conjunction with her school counselor, Mrs. Edgerton, to go through the investigative process and those components, and the same is similar here at the high school with Mr. Howie, Mr. Handrick, and Ms. Spoliansky.
And what if it's a sports or?
That, if it's a sport, it should go directly to the AD, and then they would be in charge of that investigation. If it's a teacher that's doing something, it should go to a building administrator or to my desk.
Can I say from the high school level, there's too many people to go to? Because we spoke with Mr. Howie, and then when Mr. Howie wasn't available, we were sent to Mr. Handrick. And then when Mr. Handrick wasn't available, we were sent to somebody else. And it's too many people involved, and then every person you talk to, they have to say, oh, well, I need to speak with Mr. Howie and see what's already been done. Oh, I have to speak with Mr. Handrick to see what's already been done. Oh, I have to talk to this person to see what's already been done. Meanwhile, it continues.
I have a question in regards to all of that. Sarah Decay, 200 Copper Street. My question to the people go when they've exhausted all of those avenues? When we are talking about it being paid professionals in your district, where do people go? If we can't come here and share it publicly and be supported in that, and we have done everything, where do you go? I'm just generally asking because I don't know what the next step is. If we've exhausted everything and gone through all the proper channels, what do you do when it's still happening and the person's still employed? I don't know what to do.
Executive session should always be open for that kind of discussion, right? Yeah, so, I mean.
Yeah, so if you had, I guess if you've exhausted all your internal remedies, you could always email me and we could handle it in an exec session, because it's a personnel matter if it's,
Great,
you know, so
okay,
more than happy to.
thank you.
And I was going to say, Dr. Delosio, they can also use the crises communications line, correct? Or if it's real extreme, correct? I'm not,
Which line are you speaking of when you say crisis communication?
the line with.
The safe to say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
safe to say.
Safe to say.
Yeah, that can be reported through Safe to Say at the state level,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
So follow up to that then, how do we know if you guys are not aware of it? How will we come to you with an executive?
No, if you've exhausted all your remedies, you could reach out to me with your situation.
But I think we've already done that numerous times.
Yeah, you've done it with the one situation, you've come to me about the one situation, and
I think a couple of the parents have different place, that's what I'm saying, and I'm not putting on, I'm just trying to figure this out, because
And we've discussed it in exec session. We just can't discuss it, it's a personnel issue, we
understand
can't
that, but-
discuss it.
for the parents of the people that it's happening to, the students that it's happening to, what do we do? What do we do? Somebody here has to have an answer. Somebody, and I'm not trying to be mean, somebody has to have an answer. You can't just say, oh, come back next week or next month, or does that
No,
mean
we-
anything for any of us, Amy?
No, we should reach
Sarah?
out to you, and give you some kind of resolution.
Just say, hey, we're looking into it, and we have funding to do it, whatever it may be, but
Yep, we've done something and, yep. No, I agree,
Frustrating.
I agree, Mr. Shaw, somebody should reach back out to you and say, hey, we've investigated it, we've looked at it, we can't discuss the details of the matter.
and most of us would appreciate just,
Yep,
if you remember communication, you remember when you said
Yep.
that?
I agree.
There's no communication district-wide. Thank you.
you're welcome. Anyone else?
Carol Allen, 528 South Keystone. Is there a recourse for the student? If they're being bullied, there should be a safe place in the school they can go to? Is there a policy and procedure on that? Like, how's that work?
They can always, at the high school, they can always go to the guidance office, main office, nurse's office, no questions asked, to do that. And we have, I'm gonna take something off my board report here, but one of the main reasons we bought Sweethearts and Heroes in, they just came back 2 weeks ago. Tom Murphy, Rick Roche, Roche, and Pat Fish, did circles. Bullying is a big piece of what they did, as well as hope and and actually teaching kids how to handle situations like that. The kids were very enthusiastic about their return, but it's a behavior you have to teach. And in our society, I mean, Tim, you and I have had this conversation, right now, it's very prevalent for somebody to, it's smash first and bash online, because I don't have to say it to Mr. Petrini's face. I can send it to him and be protected. So it's really, it has to be education, it's not just about reporting. There's a big piece to it. So, I started my report a little early, but.
Maybe I feel a little bit, not in the loop on some of these, specifically on what Mr. Shaw, it sounds like there's a number of things going on that we just need to understand, so we may need to dig deep, but hopefully I speak for everybody, right? We have a zero tolerance on bullying, right? It absolutely has to be, and if we're not following up on that, we need to figure it out. Because
You may say that there's a zero tolerance, but but this school doesn't show it.
We need to figure that out then,
Writing.
period.
And I will say, it's not directed to Mr. Hendrick in any way, shape, or form, but I think it's up at the upper level. It's beyond what he can do. It's all of you. It's up to you. And I said this a few months ago, it's the hardest decision you're gonna have to make as a school board member. But we have to do what's right for our children. And I'm telling you, you're letting them down. There's 3 of us here for sure. There's a couple more, probably not gonna come out and speak, but I'm telling you, you are letting us down. You're letting your kids down. Then why are we even here? What's the purpose of being here? Why? And I don't think it's the kids on kids. I don't think that's the one we're talking about, in my opinion. I can't speak for Amy, but I'm telling you, mine's an employee of the district, and some of the other people here. And I don't know how much more we have to say or do, other than bring a lawyer in, and I don't think you want that. And I'm not trying to threaten anybody, I'm just saying. We can't speak how we feel because it's a public meeting. But if you want to go into executive session, I'm sure 3 of us would speak tonight, so you know exactly what we're talking about. And I don't mean to hold up the other folks here, but I'm telling you, it's sad. It really is sad.
If I could just add to it, the elementary school, this is Edgerton I, in cooperation with PBIS and the team, have come up with an incident reporting form. So if the kids come and talk about this, they write down what happened, where it's happening, so we can share. If it's at lunch, the people on lunch duty can be made aware. If it's in specials, if it's at recess. So that's something that we've been working on within the last couple weeks, just to help keep track.
Thank you, Mr. Morel. Did any of that answer your question? I know you know that.
Well, I want to commend the elementary school, because I have a relative that struggles to go to school, and they've been nothing but supportive of our family. But that was one of the resources, where do children go when they're having trouble, that's safe for them. And I just wondered if there was something for the bullying. Like, are the students aware they can go to the nurses anytime? They've been educated?
I believe so, and they can talk to a teacher, and a teacher can always find a resource. That if I'm not in the office, Mrs. Edgerton's available. If she's out of the building or I'm out, we send an email, some of the staff is aware who's in the building that day. If I'm not available and Mrs. Edgerton's not available, we use the resources of the high school guidance counselor and vice versa.
But the
when she's not
students
available.
know they could go to you, or they could go to.
I believe so, and that's something that's when I'm out and about too, when we're doing PGS and sharing those kinds of things, or I can visit the classrooms to make sure that they understand that as well. Mrs. Edgerton goes out and does bullying prevention programs and does them in class, so I can make sure that she goes through those steps, that if there is an incident that's going on, there's a variety of different people, that if you're not comfortable coming to me, maybe they can come to her, or those kinds of things. So I'll make sure she includes that in her next lesson as she goes through the elementary school.
I think it's a good thing to put out at orientation, the first day of school, right? We'll let the parents know that those are the options for those, so they can inform their kids if that's what they, an option for them. Anyone else?
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. Morel, Mr. Hendrick, when we do have orientation at the beginning of the year, do you bring up bullying to the students and tell them how they can report bullying? Do we do that?
I can't answer that specifically because I don't have an orientation practice that he does, but I certainly can make sure that it's part of the process as the parents circulate through the classrooms with the teachers and have that be part of the process. And maybe it's something that Mrs. Edgerton and I need to talk about, that I could also have a meeting on open house. She and I could, in like 10-minute intervals, 2 or 3 times an hour, maybe the first hour, to specifically address those incidents, that if something like that is happening, who you can call and what the process is and how to resolve it.
Do we have that at high school?
Yeah, we do that at our opening meetings at the beginning of the year, and review like where the safe areas are, and the bathroom's not a safe area.
That's not the only thing you cover, right? You cover
No.
tobacco, weapons,
Safety, yep.
the whole gamut,
Yep.
right? It wouldn't hurt to have a refresher. Obviously, there's issues going on. So I would suggest that if issues are going on, maybe we need a refresher at both schools.
I have a note to talk about that with Mrs. Edgerton.
Good idea.
And even I can go out as well too.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Margaret Berry, 16 Northville Ave. I want to first of all say thanks to whoever was responsible to put the sports banners back up in the gym. It was great. And just in the past 2 weeks, people that were graduates of here who have children who go to Athens came here for events and were completely disheartened that their hard work had been forgotten about, their legacy. So I put a picture up and let them know they're back. Also, I want to commend Mrs. Burrell's building. I work in a neighboring district and I had to take a new sub to my floor and just in general conversation with 2 other staff members in my district, asking her where she'd sub. And her first statement was, "Oh, I love that little Snyder school in Sayre. They're so helpful, they're so welcoming, they're very supportive." So I want to commend Mrs. Burrell on that because that's a big deal. We can't get subs. And if her and her staff, I mean, I did tell her, but she deserves that recognition, because obviously she's setting the tone, what the expectations are. I would also like to say.
Margaret, though, too, that also goes with the teaching staff and the
That's what I mean.
paraprofessionals that are there too, but I just,
Yeah.
they know how important it is that we keep, the people that come into our school and make them feel, a part of it as well, because they are appreciated, so.
Yeah, and
yes,
they
it's a
felt
whole-
that, but I mean, obviously
Okay.
she set the standard, because they were, everybody helped. That's exactly what she said. She is moving on to work for Glass, so she's not gonna get to come back, because she got a permanent position. I also wanna say thank you for changing next year's proposed school calendar, because those 34 hours of instruction are gonna make a difference for our kids. And I just wondered, are we gonna get some form of presentation on each one of these recommendations, that the exploratory committee brought forward?
It's actually gonna change a little bit, but we'll explain that when we get there.
So you're gonna explain each option before the vote occurs, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we'll explain that one before the vote occurs.
Okay, because one of the questions I had regarding it, when I asked about grant funding, was it was said at the last meeting we were gonna try to retain ownership, and I asked if that was gonna go on Dr. Peach's shoulders, and, Dr. Locio said no, but then when I did some checking, you can't use just anybody to write a grant, and they're gonna be RAP-P grants. So those have to be submitted for the first round, March 1st, and typically you wait 5 years, to get money. So that's why I wanted to know kind of what the plan is to fund it if we're gonna retain ownership.
We'll get that,
Okay.
Mrs. Berry, when we get there. Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. All right, so with that, the consent agenda, I'd like to set a motion to recommend options 1 and 2 for approval.
Can we read the headings again?
So, so for number 1 is just the minutes. 2 is operations with athletics. Finance, the field trips, volunteers, personnel and policy review.
I need to abstain from.
I just need a motion first.
Motion.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Okay, we'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes, except I abstained on finance number 1.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, except I abstained on finance number 1.
Number 1, okay. Ms. Elsing?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes, and I have to abstain on letter E personnel.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes, I have to abstain on operations A1. Coaching.
Mrs. Kmet?
Yes.
Ms. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon?
Yes.
Mr. Petrini?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I make a recommendation?
Please.
Thank you. So I'd like to recommend to the board tonight that we modify the agenda this evening. So I put that in the form of a recommendation to you.
We can do a motion in a second.
Yeah, I have to, yes.
Yes.
That's What's the new law?
So the new law for the Sunshine Act, we can no longer do hand carries, so we have to do an actual motion to modify. So, we're modifying
Do an addition.
to do an addition.
I move to modify.
Second.
So a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so a part of that modification is to recommend to the board this evening to approve Joel Hunt as a volunteer for the 21-22 school year.
Make that a motion. So we have a motion and a second?
You want a second?
Yeah, I'll second. Whichever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Did you say Joe or Joel?
Joel.
Joel, I said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'd also like to recommend to the board that we approve a first reading of the 22-23 school year calendar as presented. Just for everyone that's, as presented to the board. So there was an exhibit put out there. There was a typo in there that said early release day, I believe in February, March, but the calendar was not highlighted. So it's just to approve the dates. So that's been removed from the calendar on February and March. And so it's just as it exists, okay? That's in a form of recommendation.
So we have a motion from Deb Agnew and a second from Mr. Skirpon or Mr. Cole?
Go ahead. Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My third recommendation to the board is from the Sarah Area School District Foundation Board to nominate a current Sarah Area School District Board of Director to serve a 3-year term on the Sarah Area School District Foundation Board.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And now I'd like to make a motion to recommend Jenny Riley as the foundation rules member on the board, from the board.
I second.
So we have a motion and a second. Ms. Kmetz?
Second.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. All right.
Thank you.
So moving on to Litchfield.
If I could just say something real quick. This gentleman sent me a letter, and I said it would probably be best to be read aloud during the public comment period.
Yep. And you wanted to read it?
If we could allow him to read it, I think that would be.
It's not typical. He's not a taxpayer or a resident, and that's just something that school districts don't do.
Can you read it as my guest?
So you can read it.
I can read it? Are you comfortable with that?
Or he can read it to us afterwards,
I'd like him to read it regarding Litchfield.
so you can read it.
It's fine. I modified it after I sent it to you, so it's different, but
I mean, I'm happy to read what you wrote if you would like.
actually, Steve is here with me from the church, and he's a taxpayer.
Okay,
in
so
Sarah
read it.
School District. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I own ground properties there, that make me live.
Are you a taxpayer?
Taxes.
You don't have to live there, just have to be taxpayer.
Sorry, Steve.
No, it's all right. Wasn't expecting to read it, but that's sure. Well, my name is not Scott Ross. My name is Steve Craig. I'm a representative of Scott Ross. Scott is the pastor of Wyndham Summit Bible Church. I'm here tonight to share with you some ideas about the Litchfield School. So you just understand, our church is located 3 miles from the school. Our church has been blessed with young adults and children. On any given Sunday, we have between 20 and 30 young children between the ages of 10 and newborn. There are also 4 young women attending that are pregnant. Our ministry focuses on, for the past 3 years, have been family focused. We minister to marriages through marriage weekends. Our next one is in 2 weeks, and you're all invited. Bring your spouse. Next 2 weeks, we have 23 couples signed up. We minister throughout the community outreach, through food drives, we put roofs on houses, through Christmas giving, through meals, we minister to young families. We have date nights, parenting classes, we minister to all ages, Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, prayer walks, meals, etc. But we're running into a problem. Currently, our church is located, where our church is located, we are out of room to grow. When I attended the meeting a week ago at the Litchfield School, my idea was to find a place for us to grow as a church. As I sat and listened in the meeting, I heard a group of people who are invested in their community. And they're concerned about what is going to happen to the community. I heard ideas and dreams of a place where the community could gather and the service could be provided. I heard the concerns about the business that could damage property values and also lose control over the building in the middle of their township. I heard a passion for a bright future. It was a good meeting. It also lit a fire in me to be a part of what happens in this community. My focus changed from finding a place for a church to stretch its legs to working with a community and township that are passionate and invested. The church is in a unique position, different from the school district and the township. We are the church under the mandate from God to impact our community. Everything we do should be a shining light into someone's life or into the community around us. For a long time, we have tried to do that in a way that almost demands people to come to our church. It is not the right way to meet the God-given mandate we have. The right way for the church is to go out into the community. That is why I'm proposing for the Litchfield School. Should have brought my glasses, wasn't expecting. I'd like to propose a partnership of sorts between the township and the community and the church. At the meeting I attended, it was noted that there are some real financial advantages to both the school district and the township regarding the fixing of the building. If a private organization were to own the school in 5 acres, I think the church could be that private organization. It would provide a church a way to impact the community in a unique way that would provide, say, in a way that goes on in the building, in the community, in the township, and yes, it would give us some room to stretch our legs when the time came. I have more details written out about that. For the sake of brevity, I will keep my remarks short. Although there is always some danger when you give a pastor an audience. Our church has been on the summit for over 160 years, ministering to the community around us. We have people that come from Sayre, Athens, Rome, Windham, Raysville, Wyalusing, Towanda, and other areas in between. We have a heart for our community and want to continue to minister. I believe that we can do some unique and something special with the Litchfield School, something that will impact not only Litchfield community, but our part of the community as well. I'm looking forward to that, what lies ahead, and I'm asking the school board to consider this proposal. For lack of a better term, as you make the decision on the fate of the school, you may make a decision tonight that will impact the Litchfield community for many years to come, and I believe the church can be a unique part of that decision. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Well, so we have 3 options that are currently listed on the agenda. And the 3 that we have currently listed, we want to table. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to table the current 3 options that are on this agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So I have a motion from Mr. Shaw and a second from Ms. Betts.
That's fine.
All, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and just open discussion and share from the committee and then.
So we're gonna, so we're gonna open discussion from the committee,
For the board.
for the board.
Anything that wants to be said?
Do we want to share the option we're putting on the table?
We could start with that. You can share the committee, the information that you talked about at the exec session, that had to do with the property and the land.
Sure.
committee.
So, the committee meeting we had, we discussed quite a few things. 21 people came out from the community.
I'm sorry, can you want to move that mic a little bit
Oh,
so they can hear you?
okay.
You voted before we got.
Hold on.
Voted.
No, that we just.
We voted to
Voted
table
on
that.
anything.
Table those options.
Thank you. Check it.
So the committee meeting we had, a lot of people from the community came out. It was 21 people in attendance. A lot of different opinions on the school building. We did discuss 3 different options. There was a little bit of rewording, which is why we've tabled the ones written here, but the quotes that I got looking at the asbestos, so you basically have 2 options. To remediate the building, just for asbestos, not for any of the other damage from it sitting empty. You're looking at $63,000 for the floor, $15,000 for the pipe insulation, and then possibly $15,000 for the soffits and the $25,000 for the window glazing. That's just for asbestos remediation. Alternatively, if you had a demolition in regards to asbestos, the quote I got, this is not a bid, this is just a ballpark quote that an environmental company provided, would be $185,000 to demolition, given in regards that it would have to be contaminated material. So that is what we were looking at as far as numbers go. The committee came forward with the 3 recommendations. We didn't have a chance to specifically word them out, but general ballpark is what you see on the agenda here. So we kind of get a guideline. The thought behind giving it to Litchfield Township was that being that it's a closed school, the Litchfield Township is eligible for a lot more grant opportunities to utilize the property. Unfortunately, as a school district, because the school is closed, there's a lot fewer opportunities. So that's where you see the proposal B, to see if Litchfield Township is interested in putting it as a gift. Proposal C is to advertise it for sale, was the rough outline on that the committee came with. And then A would be to continue with the committee as it is, trying to find a purpose for the building remaining within the school district. Am I missing anything? So,
I would change it to.
That's correct.
We do have a different recommendation.
Okay.
Share the recommendation?
I think you have the wording right.
You have
You want me to read it? I'd be
You have
happy
the
to.
wording.
Yeah.
Oh, do I have the wording?
Yeah, no worries, I got you, sorry. So since it's coming from me, it's a recommendation, not a motion. Great, okay.
Right.
So we're recommending the board advertise 5 acres inclusive of Litchfield School for sale for 60 days. At the 60-day mark, the board will choose or reject the offers. So if you are looking at the agenda right now, it is letter C, the first sentence, and modified the second sentence. I'm gonna reread that to the board. Recommend the board advertise 5 acres inclusive of Litchfield School for sale for 60 days. At the 60-day mark, the board will choose or reject offers. Here. I'll put that in the form of a recommendation, so.
Make a motion.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think it's important that we have that 60-day window. If we really want to move forward and get in a direction with this property. And secondly, I think it opens it up for anybody coming forward with an offer that they deem makes sense. I think it works well.
Any further discussion? Questions? I mean, I know it's a change in,
So
nothing.
there's no deed restriction, that's the part that came off of it, right? Of the C, I mean, there'll be no, when it's advertised,
There's no restriction.
And this would have to get court approval because it's the sale of a school property.
There's all those ins and outs. It has to be subdivided. It has to have all that.
And so that, all of that, once it's finalized, has to go to the Court of Common Pleas for approval, right? I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so.
Whatever legal action, Mark.
Whatever legal action
The
is.
reason I'm asking the question is, are we gonna make sure that the buyer, or if we did end up gifting it, that they're gonna shoulder the cost of the subdivision and the legal
Oh, I
cost
have-
of work? I would hope, that's all I'm asking.
It will be in the best interest of the school district.
Okay. But I mean, some people might not know that that has to
Yeah.
happen, so I'm just asking if we're gonna put that in the.
When we advertise,
Yeah.
So that was part of the reason we reworded this, because in the original wording, it said will choose, and we didn't want to be in a situation where it's going to cost the school money. So that's why, your concerns are part of the reason it was reworded.
Thank you.
Mrs. Berry, additionally, Mr. Landy, our school solicitor, joined us at executive session tonight to provide information about subdivision and all the other components, if and when that comes to be, so that he will walk through that process with the school district, so we're in the right place.
So when this decision gets made, the full board will meet on it, it's not gonna be part of the exploratory committee, because there's
Right.
no members listed or anything on your
Correct.
website. So I just wanna know kind of where it goes from here, that will just come back to the main
Yeah.
board for a decision?
Yep.
So once this is voted on tonight, if it's a positive vote in the sense of a unanimous or a vote of 5-4 or more than that, it'll come right back to the board for the discussion of all the offers, and then a final decision will rest with the board.
Right.
Thank you.
And they'll see all offers.
Thank you.
Well, once the board decides, right, if there's an advertisement, then I'll start that process tomorrow. I gotta get it out there, so we have a 60-day window for a close, so
Right.
as soon as the board takes a vote, right?
The meeting was supposed to be Wednesday night, right, guys? Right. So do we still need to let everyone know of the meeting
To
about this,
advertise.
or
But it's
cancel
not-
the meeting? I think is what the,
That's not
I
important.
think we can discuss that after the vote.
Yeah.
okay.
Just for clarification, Mr. Petrini, this Litchfield committee is not a school sanctioned committee, correct?
yeah, the Litchfield committee was, designed basically with community members. And, because the school district had, because it's still our property, that's why we had Dr. Delozio on board, just to answer those types of questions.
But it's not a sanctioned school committee.
So the committee itself would have been a time frame. Like, we have our athletic committee that's revolving, and we have our community relations that's revolving. And so when it was presented in the summertime by a board member, it's kind of a committee that can be an add-on by the board, right? To say you have X amount of time, or so that process, right? If there's gonna be any committee, it would need permission from the board to continue to move forward. So that's gonna be dependent upon the vote that occurs
Well, I think,
tonight.
at this point, right, I mean, at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the board. I mean, if there's a community group that has interest and wants to share information, that's fine, but it's in the hands of the board.
Right.
I mean, that's where.
I would just like to comment, I think Mr. Skirpon's correct, because what if I decide that I wanna add a second gym at Sayre High School? I shouldn't be able to go out and start a committee to do it. I was a sitting board member, I was never made aware that committee existed, and we have an existing buildings and grounds committee that Mr. Hickey chaired. And you were not involved in the exploratory committee, it was buildings and grounds. I just think we're on a slippery slope when we just create these committees that aren't listed on our website, they're not on our calendar, and non-school district affiliated people are advertising a meeting for 2 nights from tonight, gonna explore all the exciting things going on. I mean, that's really sending a wrong message to our community. And I know you got the picture, because my neighbor told me she sent it to you. I mean, that's not transparency. I'm not saying anything wrong occurred, but you're not presenting.
I can't help what people put on
a situation that
Facebook.
is transparent. So I think, in the future, we gotta be careful, and we gotta be very clear what's a school committee and what's not, and who can recommend motions to the board and things, because what if everybody goes rogue and we all start
Margaret,
rogue committees?
thank you. So, we have a motion, a second. Any more discussion for the board?
That's why I asked that question earlier, just so that
Yeah, I know.
Okay, well,
I appreciate
I'm
it.
not trying to be mean, but that's why, because
I know.
there was some concern and you know,
Appreciate it, yep. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, guys. All right, so we have some upcoming committee meetings. Tomorrow night, technology at 5:30 in the admin conference room. Curriculum and instruction tomorrow night at 6:30 in the same place. Finance committee, February 15th at 5:30 in the admin's conference room. Athletics and recreation at 6:30 thereafter. Buildings and grounds at 7:30 the same night. And community relation and wellness, March 8th at 5:30. So with that, principals reports. Mrs. Morel.
Yes, so everyone bring your smiles. Tomorrow it's class picture day at Snyder Elementary School, so we're very excited for that. PBS has officially rolled out. I heard lots of noise in the one car to my left. I said to the person that was next to me, "What is going on?" He goes, "That kid ran all the way around. You didn't have to call him on the radio," so I gave him a PBIS ticket. So I was very excited that they ran fast. Ladies, they left, or they snuck out. Girls, come back. I have PBIS tickets for you. I'll give them to you tomorrow. I had 2 left in my pocket today. They sat up through the whole meeting, so I happen to have 2 of them left, so I had just dug them out of my...
See how much authority you have with them. Just kind of ready to go.
Do you want to hear my real authoritative voice? Then come back.
Please.
And our FID day, I talked with several, but not all teachers. We did have several students who took opportunities to visit their teachers during office hours, asked for questions, clarifications. I think some of the kids just wanted to see if their friends were online at that time, so it worked out very well. I think the preparation that we did before the day happened with what it was gonna look like, how the kids logged on, where they found the information was a great help, so I thank the teachers and the paraprofessionals for all of their help in that. And finally, this is just my own personal opinion, it's not always good to come in first place. Thank you to Jessie Schwenk and her colleagues at Snyder Elementary School. They had a balloon pop contest, and somehow a can ended up in my office, that the balloon would be popped over the person's head whose can had contained the most money. Every once in a while, I would hear my name and some clinks going on out there, and I would come out with my authoritative voice and wonder who was adding that money to the can. So we really did have a great time with that. Again, was very happy that I didn't win, came in second place. Congratulations to second grade. All 4 of those teachers and a couple of their colleagues had volunteered to do that. We plan to have that this Thursday, according to Mrs. Schwenk. And $1,300 was raised for the local Special Olympics that will stay here in Bradford County. So thank you to everybody for that special effort that the kids brought in to fill those cans with money. I believe there is also some staff that contributed to various cans throughout the building as well. So it was a great time had by all. So thank you everybody for that, and that's all that I have.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Morel.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hendrick?
Yeah, I think we alluded to this earlier, but the senior class is hosting a kids' night out on Valentine's Day this Monday from 4 to 8. The pool will be open and students need to be signed up ahead of time to participate. It's for SARE students only and in primarily K to 3. Along the same way, Corning YMCA reached out to us. They are running a lifeguard program, and I know it's a little bit of a haul, but they do have scholarships available. So if somebody is interested in attending that would be great. We started the Test to Stay program. They were only here on site 1 day last week, but just for information purposes, we had 76 students at the high school sign up to get tested here. Testing is also almost complete on the new fire alarm system here at the high school. It's a big building. It's taken them a little bit, but we're close to being done. We sat through testing on, I don't remember what afternoon. I'm trying to block it out. I think it was Friday. And then Thursday. The 8th grade has a SARE trolley up and running. The trolley rolls out during activity and wind periods. I hope to have the students here at our next meeting to share with you guys. They made $92 on their first 3 days in operation, and they're really having a blast with it and very appreciative of the opportunity to make their school an exciting place to learn and grow. And Mr. Coutrini, I think you had a card from them there that's probably getting passed around.
I did, it's good, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, they're very excited and excited and a little nervous to come present to you guys, but we'll have them here soon. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much. NTCC report, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Petrini. We've got our preliminary budget set up at the Northern Tier Career Center, and for the coming year, next year, 22-23, we're looking at a $3.5 million budget with an increase of about $287,000. But one of the nice things that we did down at the board was, with the increase, we actually deducted $155,000 from that because of the savings that we got from the previous year with the COVID that happened. So we had to decide how we wanted to divvy that out. So we decided that it would probably be best if we took it from the budget this year, so it wouldn't be so burdensome on all 9 districts that we do serve. And speaking of the district in which I serve, we are going to be paying out $245,348. It's only an increase of about $2,100 for the Career Center. Couple of neat things going on down there. They've partnered with the Northern Tier Solid Waste Authority. They're starting to rebuild a lot of their dumpsters. They look fantastic. I mean, they were basically, these dumpsters were all rusted out and stuff. They've completely refurbished these, and I don't know how many dozens that they are going to be sending back over to the Solid Waste Authority. Want to make mention that the Career Center won first place overall, received a $5,000 gift or certificate for training aids from the Cleveland Brothers Equipment for being the top school in the Penn College diesel competition. In fact, one of the students won a $10,000 Penn College scholarship for his services that he was in competition with. And a quick note, the co-op has 13 students that are participating in local industries right around Bradford County. That's everything from NTCC, Mr. Petrini.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Satterley Creek, Mrs. Agnew.
Yeah, Open Forest is coming up on March the 5th from 10 to 2. And I believe there's
Yes, and it's on the
out there,
calendar.
yeah.
Yep.
So keep that in mind, please join us.
Deb, does someone have that flyer to send out?
I don't know if he turned it into the school or not.
If you
There's flyers out
email
there.
it to me or somebody
I
will
haven't
send
seen
it
it.
out through the school
Okay.
too and post it throughout,
Yeah.
like we usually do.
I'll get it sent to you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Agnew. I don't really have anything to say for board's president report, other than I'd like to thank all my teachers and staff and administrators in both buildings. It's not getting any easier, and we expect more and more of them every single day, and I appreciate all the hard work that they do. That's it for me. Dr. Delosio?
Sure. So it's February, I typically update the board on enrollment and projection of enrollment, so if you'll take one and pass one to Mr. Hickey down there. Mr. Poole has one of those as well. So at this time, when I pulled enrollment today, currently the in-person enrollment in Sayre School District K-12 is 959 students. And so you can see the current enrollment in column 2, K-12, that's written there. I do have the classroom teachers and the number of classroom teachers in column 3 that we have currently for this school year. Our highest class is 91 students in our 7th grade class headed into 8th grade, and our smallest class is 58 students in 1st grade. So we have a range between 58 and 91 in all 13 levels at this point in time. So projected for next year, everyone moving up in kindergarten is an unknown. We did solicit last week, starting for kindergarten registration will be on March 7th. We will push out an invitation every week to families about kindergarten registration. We already have 20 individual families signed up to register on March 7th. So that's gonna, the team will take care of that on that day. And there will be an adjustment in staffing over at the Snyder Elementary School. There is currently 24 classroom teachers. They'll maintain 24, but Mrs. Morel needs to move numbers in those grade levels in order to accommodate the enrollment of students. So when 89 students move from second grade to third grade, the third grade will need to shift from 3 teachers to 4 teachers. So she will work on pushing that information out first for anyone that would like to move and volunteer to do that, and then she'll move forward from there. And we have 3 current retirements, and we'll be requesting to replace all 3 of those to maintain our number of a good student-to-staff ratio at the elementary school. That's all I have, Mr. Petrini.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lozio.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions about the agenda?
I do have two brought up to the point. Do we not have the solicitor here for every meeting? If there's any legal questions?
No,
Not required?
not required.
Okay. And, I'll get it next week, but I'm gonna hold it. Oh, who do I have to see to request a executive?
You can send an email to me, and I'll put that on
And CC me and
the,
we'll,
and send it to Pete or I, and we'll make sure it happens.
So how soon can we do that? Like the meeting? Like, 'cause this is something that needs to be addressed like 8:30 tonight, not 3 weeks or a month from now. That's why I asked. I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
I can't speak for the rest of the board. I don't know if anybody want to speak to Mr. Shaw afterwards?
I'll stay.
I'll say.
Okay.
Can we have a 5-minute recess or something?
oh yeah, seriously, yeah, I'm good with that. I just want you to hear me.
Yep.
And I don't know if Sarah wants to stay.
Okay.
I have nothing to hide once I tell you, so.
Yep. Okay.
Move for adjournment?
So with that, oh,
Can I
go
make
ahead.
one more quick?
Yep, Mr. Cole?
30 seconds, timing, Mr. Hickey. Hey, the governor is gonna be presenting his.
Right, you're already 5 seconds.
Thanks a lot. No, I just wanted to make mention that the governor's budget is being presented tomorrow, and there's supposed to be, again, an increase in the education budget. February 9th, 12 noon, PSBA has an hour-long seminar on the 22-23 budget, so if anybody wants to join in there, just go into my PSBA and register. Easy as that, 20 seconds.
I don't know, similar like 35 to me, but that's okay. So with that, can we get a motion to adjourn? We got a motion, a second?
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.